Hello, this is Dr. Keith Johnson, America's #1 confidence coach. I want to welcome you to Dr. J Today. Thank you so much for joining us. Today we're celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King Day. Man, I'm telling you, this is one of the most exciting days for me because, I just so honor this man, Dr. Martin Luther King, the man, the message, and how God used him to be a channel, to be a change agent that literally changed culture. Dr. Martin Luther King, he's my hero, and it's amazing as you look at his life, how he sacrificed, how he was so selfless in his passion to make a difference in other people's life. He laid down his life for the betterment and the empowerment of others. I have a saying that I say quite a lot. I say, goodness is free, but greatness will cost you. Yeah. Goodness is free. There's a lot of good people, not a lot of great people. There's a lot of good businesses, not great businesses. A lot of good churches, but not a lot of great churches. What is the difference? The difference is the price that you have to be willing to pay. And Dr. Martin Luther King, he paid the price. He worked ruthlessly to make a difference, not just for himself, but for other people, for generations to come. So his life, his legacy has meant so much to me. And I want to share today on Dr. J Today one of my favorite video clips. And I want you to watch this because when I saw this video clip, boy, I'll tell you, it awakened me to the challenge that we have many years ago, but also the challenge we even have today. We're going to go to that clip right now.
What is it about the Negro? Every other group that came as an immigrant somehow, not easily, but somehow got around it. Is it just the fact that Negroes are black?
White America must see that no other ethnic group has been a slave on American soil. That is one thing that other immigrant groups haven't had to face. The other thing is that the color became a stigma. American society made the Negro's color a stigma. America freed the slaves in 1863 through the Emancipation Proclamation of Abraham Lincoln, but gave the slaves no land or nothing in reality, and as a matter of fact, to get started on. At the same time, America was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that there was a willingness to give the white peasants from Europe an economic base. And yet it refused to give its black peasants from Africa, who came here involuntarily in chains and had worked free for 244 years, any kind of economic base. And so emancipation for the Negro was really freedom to hunger. It was freedom to the winds and rains of heaven. It was freedom without food to eat or land to cultivate, and therefore it was freedom and famine at the same time. And when white Americans tell the Negro to lift himself by his own bootstraps, they don't look over the legacy of slavery and segregation. I believe we ought to do all we can and seek to lift ourselves by our own bootstraps, but it's a cruel jest to say to a bootless man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And many Negroes, by the thousands and millions, have been left bootless as a result of all of these years of oppression and as a result of a society that deliberately made his color a stigma and something worthless and degrading.
Wow, what a powerful message from Dr. Martin Luther King himself. In the Word of God, in Deuteronomy 15, verse 4, God speaking to his people, he said this. He said, "There shall be no poor among you." Wow, hear the heart of God. God's desire for his people is for them not to be poor. As a matter of fact, Psalm 66 verse 12 says that God is taking us to a wealthy place. That's God's desire. That's God's intent. And I am so proud of Dr. Martin Luther King and his passion to bring equal rights to the black community. But a lot of people don't know that towards the end of his life, he grabbed onto a new passion. Not just equal rights, he wanted equal pay. He got passionate at the end of his life, and he initiated the Poverty Project. And what he started to say towards the end of his life was, hey, he said, not only do we want equal rights, we want equal pay. That every person, no matter what the color of your skin, that if you're doing a job, everybody should be paid the same. Whether that's black, white, Hispanic, or even male and female. That was his passion. Wow. I was so moved by that. And that's exactly why I'm stirred in this season of my life to do these living wealthy experiences. I spend 90% of my schedule throughout the year. I only have so much time, but I spend 90% of my schedule focused on the black community to empower them with the information and the inspiration and the knowledge and wisdom that's needed to get out of the poor place and to get out of middle class living and head to the wealthy place that God has designed for all of us. And you know, the disciples, Jesus ran into the disciples one day and they were frustrated. They were broke. They were emptying their boats because they fished all day. They caught nothing. So they had empty boats. They had empty nets. And they were frustrated. You know, that's what poverty does. Poverty in our life causes us to be frustrated, causes us to want to quit and give up. So Jesus, the first thing he did is he sat them down and he started to teach them before they launched out into their new endeavor. And that's what people need today. People need information. Some of us are on inspiration overload, but if you inspire an idiot to keep doing the same dumb thing over and over, that makes no sense. At some point, we've got to get some new information so that we can be transformed. And if you're interested in hosting a living wealthy experience, we want to come help you. We want to empower the local church with the information, the data that is needed to transform people economically. Because if you don't empower people economically, just like Dr. Martin Luther King said in this little clip, you keep them enslaved. You keep them stuck where they are. So this is Dr. J today. I hope you've enjoyed it. Share this message if you've liked it, and we'll see you again later in the week.